Hey all, Dr. Seth here. Just trying to share a little bit more useful information about how you might be able to get a better health outcome out of your life. We certainly help people with their brain, with their structure, with their biochemical balance here, using our 3B synergy system, of health repair. There's a lot that you need to do for yourself to make sure that you don't end up in hot water. Because while we do have an excellent crisis care system in our country, staying out of crisis is probably the best thing to do. I think we can probably all agree on that. As opposed to talking about a direct health-related topic, I'm going to take a little bit of a left turn today, and I want to talk about something that a professor of mine from chiropractic school, who taught me a whole lot, not just this one thing, Dr. Matthew McCoy, he would always say, follow the money. Right? And so that's the main message that I want to pass along to you today. When you're looking at potentially a food ad, when you're looking at a medication ad, when you're being given the results of a study, you want to say, well, who stands to profit from this, and where are those motivations, and what stands to gain, and would that gain potentially be to my benefit or detriment? And I'll give you a couple of examples. Okay, in the food industry, right? If you go back several years, maybe several hundred years, maybe several decades, I'm not really sure. People didn't even always eat breakfast. Okay, they didn't certainly snack. It was pretty common to eat probably lunch and dinner, if the food was available. Okay, that is essentially what our systems are designed for. Our insulin system is designed to spike really quickly, flatline again, so that our bodies aren't constantly exposed to the chronic hyperinsulinemia that the typical American is exposed to. Okay? Fast forward several hundred years or several decades or whatever it is. I'm not a historian, and I didn't really look it up. I'm just kind of doing this on the fly. If you don't trust me, go look these things up. I'm just trying to share what's made my life a whole lot better. That doesn't necessarily always come up in clinical practice. Fast forward, the food industry was basically selling all the food that they could. And lo and behold, the phrase, breakfast is the most important meal of the day, was born. Who birthed it? It was the food industry. It wasn't a PhD, it wasn't a doctor, it wasn't anyone who had any connection to our health whatsoever. It was someone that needed more profit because they'd reached the maximum of their market potential. They started stuffing our faces with breakfast, and certainly we have whole aisles of questionable cereals and all that kind of stuff now, that are meals that are causing additional insulin spikes that our systems didn't used to get. It's not what our bodies are designed for, and lo and behold, we're developing a problem. Fast forward another number of years, and now everyone's eating breakfast. We've got another profit growth or growth blockage to an industry that wants to make money. All businesses are, well, especially the largest ones. I guess I'm a business, so do what you want with that info. All businesses, to a greater or lesser extent, are designed to make money, but I particularly look with a very careful eye at corporations. They started promoting the snack. Look at this. 2 meals weren't enough. 3 meals aren't enough. Boy, to be healthy, you need to eat between meals. Right? So now we've got people eating, as the hobbits would say, second breakfast, right? And then something, an afternoon pick-me-up. Energy bars, right? To give you energy, which also creates an insulin spike. And now and then nighttime snacking, because everybody wants popcorn while they're watching Game of Thrones, or what have you. These are all extra opportunities to eat that we didn't have because we're no longer in a survival situation like we used to be in. And how did we get influenced to behave this way? By an industry that stood to make money, that has no further responsibility to you and your health other than to collect your money and say, have a nice day. It then falls on the taxpayer to pick up the extra that whatever chronic disease pops up for you, costs. because essentially we live right now in a situation where the average person is pulling out more from Medicare than they ever put in. So, consider it your civic responsibility to be healthy. I kind of do. I don't know if that's maybe that's getting a little too political here. If you don't like it, give me a comment below and tell me to cut it out. I think we all need to kind of think a little bit more deeply about our choices and our actions sometimes. So anyway. So as far as businesses go, that's one instance of follow the money. A money motivated message disguised as something to benefit you that doesn't really when you dig down to it. Okay. Another place where you can follow the money is when it comes to research. Research is a huge place where money can very much sway the outcome. This is true. The by far one of the biggest areas where research is being done is in the biomedical field. And who funds the research? Is it the FDA? Is it the CDC? Is it someone that we know and trust? Well, it depends whether or not you trust Merck or GlaxoSmith or any of those other guys. But again, those are huge corporations with no responsibility to you whatsoever, other than to collect your money or the allowed amount from your insurance carrier or what have you. So depending on who's funding research, you can bet your butt the guy that they're paying to run that research is very well motivated by the prospect of keeping or losing his job to give his bosses a result that they like. So when someone's citing a study, again, you need to follow the money, because if that research was paid for by a business, that business paid for that research to earn them more profit. A drug company is not paying for research that proves that their drug hurts people or doesn't work. So that's in my life. I don't choose to turn to that industry very much for help. That's not something that I'm going to tell you one way or another to do, because I guess essentially it's outside the scope of my license. But that's another place where you want to look to are statistics. This is where euphemism and doublespeak kind of come into play a little bit more. Maybe that's a topic for another video. But again, research that is bought and paid for, that even then may show a marginal result, can be shown to be, can be made to seem more positive than it really is. Okay, let's say, I should probably draw the numbers out. Okay, so let's say that a particular remedy of some kind, it doesn't even have to be a drug, right? But let's say some type of remedy. Somebody did a study and found that when a placebo was applied, 1 out of 100 people recovered from the problem at hand, right? And let's say in the study they found that that when they applied a particular remedy, 2 out of 100 people recovered from the problem at hand, right? A 1% improvement in recovery, might not really seem all that great, but this can also be, quoted as being double the improvement over placebo, right? Doesn't that sound great? It's not that great, but it can be made to sound that great. So again, you have to follow the money and look for the truth in things that you're being told, because it's very difficult to sort this out sometimes. Then we look at, while we're on it, why don't we look at side effects, which are really just effects that they don't want you to pay attention to, or unwanted effects, but they're not something that that happened. Oh well, it's a known effect, right? This teeny little result can be blown up to say, double the result of placebo, right? Well, let's say that there's the same level, so the same amount of people who had a positive benefit, the same amount also came to some degree of harm. So they could say, so that same 2 people out of 100 had some type of problem with this, developed a purple rash all over their body or something like that, right? That same thing can say, oh, in only 2% of people, there were some minor side effects, right? Can you see how the same statistic can be cited in a very different way, right? Double the rate of improvement over placebo when the actual gain is very little at all, versus when you want to minimize something, you can use language that seems very small. Oh, only 2%. I'll bet on that, because really, boy, I really want to have this miracle cure in my body so that I don't have to experience some kind of suffering or what have you. I don't want to turn blue every time I think about posies. I don't know, whatever it is. So that's the kind of the other aspect of this, right? So when messages are being put out there to you, one, look who stands to profit. And if someone does stand to profit, may want to look at it a little more deeply. And I know in my life, I often will give a little more weight to a message coming from an entity that is of a lower financial caliber, that stands to profit less. Because if that entity is a smaller organization, smaller business, non-profit business, not funded by a for-profit entity or what have you, then I tend to consider them to be a little more trustworthy. And in this, I was just told by an uncle of mine the other day, we're in the post-truth era. Kind of scary, but I couldn't disagree with him. In this post-truth era, you've got to watch out. So again, when it comes to following the money, to see where a message is coming from, in certain regards, you may want to, when you find that there's money behind a message, you may want to turn and walk the other way. So that's just kind of my health tip of the day. Nothing specific about how to get a better result from stretching your neck or anything like that, but maybe just how to think about your health and make day-to-day decisions about what to eat, what to sleep on, what kind of clothes to put on your back, how to, who to listen to, who not to listen to, all these types of things. Because ultimately your health is everything you say, think, do, consume, and etc. So I hope this helps. And with that, have a great day, everybody.